action.
Hello students, this is G Chakravorty. Welcome to the chemistry department, and today we are here for the sixth and the final lecture of the first module, that is the general environment of the mandatory course on environmental studies that belongs to BTech second year syllabus, right? The code of this particular paper is MC301. Okay, now you people have come across already five different lectures on five different topics. That is, the first one was about the resources, right? That what resources are, how many types of resources are there, and how we should deal with these resources. Okay, that we have seen in the first lecture. Now in the second lecture, we people have seen the details regarding population, its growth, and the study of population growth and all. In the third lecture, we have seen different aspects regarding the environmental disasters, right? What disasters can happen and how to cope with those disasters, that we people have seen. Now in fourth and fifth lecture, we people have seen about ecology and ecosystem, where we have studied regarding the different types of ecosystem. First, we had a brief idea about what ecosystem is, what are the components of ecosystem, what are the kinds of ecosystem, how ecosystem is studied, and we have come across different type of ecosystems like grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem, forest ecosystem, pond ecosystem, and mangrove ecosystem. Okay. Along with this, we have also studied what is food chain and what is food web, right? Now, in this particular lecture, we are going to see what environmental management is. Now, environmental management is very, very important for us. Now, why it is important, and what different aspects have been taken, what different acts has been implemented in order to save environment, in order to manage environment, that we people will see here. And we will also see about the details of the environmental management, right? Now basically, if we go to the fact that what environmental management is, it is actually a management of the interaction and impact of human societies on the environment, right? So what humans are doing to the environment and how to control it, right? That is basically studied under this topic, which is called environmental management. Okay, now environmental resource management or environmental management, the main aim of this particular thing is to ensure that the ecosystem services are protected and maintained for future human generations, so that we cannot use everything for our own. We should leave something for our future generation, which is basically called sustainable development, right? And also it maintains the ecosystem integrities through considering ethical, economic, and scientific values, right? Different ecological values. Okay, now it basically tries to identify the factors that are affected by the conflicts that rise between the meeting ends and protecting resources, right? So we need everything and we need to conserve also everything. So within these two facts, within these two points, actually an agreement is done by this environmental management. Okay, so it is thus totally linked to environmental pollution, environmental protection. There is a control of environmental pollution, and that is nothing but environmental protection, sustainability, and integrated landscape management. Okay, so all these details we'll be seeing in this particular lecture. Now the main significance of that of this environmental management is that it is an increasing concern, as reflected in its prevalence in several texts, right? That the world is changing. Okay, why the world is changing? Due to different human activities, the world is changing. Basically, we are forcing the world to change. Okay, now the irrepressible human curiosity and the unquenchable thirst for knowledge are the fundamental basis of scientific development, right? How scientific development occurs? Basically, it occurs due to the thirst of knowledge of human beings, which actually requires large amount of resources. Okay, now a major part of the innovations in scientific and technological developments have been directed towards generation of or elevation of human comforts, thereby increasing the standard of living in the society. Now in summer season, we are living with ACs, right? We are using refrigerators, we are using several type of gadgets. Now this different type of things have come up with the need of ourselves, right, for this different things. But have we ever thought that what effect this is causing on the environment? It may happen that some people have thought, but majority is totally unaware about the fact, right? So basically, due to this rapid industrialization and rapid comfortization of human life, right, the impact of human beings or the human discoveries on nature is huge, right? Now how we are going to control it out, that things will be discussed in this particular topic, which is called environmental management. Okay, so let's see what we can do regarding this particular fact. Okay, now you can see there are certain points, some of the important improvements to our standard of living that can be attributed to the application of science and technology. Okay, now this includes the following points. Okay, what these points are: number one, we can see production of more and more better quality of food, elimination of many infectious disease, invention of new faster communication systems, creation of more reliable and faster transportation, supply of safe water, invention of machines to replace humans and animal powered, and minimizing waterborne disease through water technology. Okay, these are some of the latest factors which basically leads to different type of attributes, right, which basically affects environment rather. Okay, now this environment, this effect of environment, we need to control it out. Now see, we cannot stop these interventions or inventions, right, because they are very much needed. What we can do these inventions in such a way that the environment is less affected, right? That we people can do, that is in our hands, but we cannot stop this development. It is not possible to stop this development. Okay, so we need to control it out, that how we are going to control this particular thing, that will be studied in this particular lecture, which is called environmental management. Okay, now what are the objectives of environmental management? Basically, it mainly objects towards the exploitation, the regulation of exploitation of natural resources, the protection of environmental degradation, and maintaining environmental quality. It teaches us how to balance the ecosystem. It teaches us how to preserve the biological diversity. It actually provides solutions towards adopting engineered technologies without creating any bad effects on the environment. And it also formulates certain rules and regulations which actually are needed for the protection of the environment. Okay, now what components or what type of mainly facts are implemented due to this management, and or you can say that what different components are present in order to control the degradation of environment and to do environmental management. So this includes, number one is environmental impact assessment. That is, we people should calculate what impact our activity is doing to the environment. Suppose you are making something made up of burnt plastic, right? Now if you are burning plastic, huge amount of air pollution is caused. Okay, so what impact is resulting due to your activity, that we need to do. Okay, this is called EIA, or the environmental impact assessment, and it's very, very important. Okay, number two is environmental management planning. So one more thing about environmental impact assessment, see, it's quite easy to understand using this particular example. See, you are studying or not, how this is to be clarified, how this is to be found. It's very simple. Just give an exam and see what outcome you have got, what is the result. Similarly, if we are doing something, then how much problem we are creating to the environment. Very simple, just do the assessment and get the result. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, so second point is environmental management planning. That means before doing anything, we need to plan that how to do it, right, in order to protect the environment. Number three is auditing. Very, very important. See, auditing will give you full data, what has happened, why it has happened, and what is going to happen next, right? Then comes socio-economic assessment, that whether economy satisfies this particular work that we people are doing. Solid waste management is very important. Air quality monitoring, water quality assessment, soil quality assessment are very, very important, because air, water, soil are the three basic aspects, basic needs for all animals and plants, right? And water and wastewater management is also very important, because waterborne disease are really very bad, and they cause huge hazard to the society. Okay, so basically we'll move into the details of this environmental impact assessment. And what environmental impact assessment actually teaches us is basically it is the process, it is the assessment that reveals the positive or negative impact that a proposed project may have on environment, right? So whether suppose we are having a project, we are building something. Okay, now that project, how much impact it is creating on the environment, that is done that is evaluated by the environmental impact assessment, right? Now it is an activity that is designed to identify and predict the impact of the biogeophysical environment, okay, and on the human health, as well as on the legislative proposals, policies, programs, projects, and operational procedures, and to implement and communicate information about the impacts, right? So in a single word, we can say that whatever activities we people are doing, it will clear up all the data that what impact your particular activity has done to the environment, and then it will give you the result whether your activity is good or bad for the environment, right? So this is nothing but environmental impact assessment, and it is widely accepted as a tool for environmental management, okay, and has been adopted by multiple countries because it is very, very important, okay. Now environmental regulations and legal frameworks are also popular in India, and at India we in India we are actually concerned about environment, so the government has implemented several stringent laws so that this environment and its conservation should be done, right? So the first one is Wildlife Protection Act in 1972. So we all know that in the historical era, the kings and emperors, and they all were very much fond of hunting, right? So large number of animals were being hunted down, right? So a time had come when there were no tigers in India. Very, very few tigers were left. Then the Tiger Protection Act came into being, right? So basically this type of protection acts are very, very important because man actually kills animal for its own entertainment, right, which is not at all good, okay. So Wildlife Protection Act has come up in 1972, and it protects the wildlife against, and it actually works against the killing of wildlife, right, by human beings. Next, the Water, that is Prevention and Control of Pollution Act in 1974, which was again amended in 1988, have come up. See, we know it very well that different factories are present along the different river banks of India. Now this particular factories, basically what they do, they release all the water which are wastewater, basically they release into the water bodies like rivers. Now what happens, normal people use that water and they suffer from dangerous diseases. These are called waterborne diseases basically. So according to this Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, which was implemented in 1974 and later amended in 1988, before releasing water into any type of river body, there should be rigorous checking about the quality of water and rigorous purification of the water that is being released, right? So that the water protection and water preservation is proper, right, is on. But it is very unfortunate that in many places it is not considered properly, and yes, if they get caught, then the industry will be closed. But you know, there are ways where the people get rid of these particular things anyway, but the act is very, very important and it should be maintained properly, right? Next is the Forest Conservation Act. This is also very important. See, we human beings, for our own entertainment, for our own luxury, for our own requirement, we have cleared the forest, which has resulted in huge change in the atmosphere of the earth, right? That's why the Forest Conservation Act was implemented in 1980, which actually tries to protect the forest from the human impacts, okay. Next comes the Air Prevention and Control Act, which is also very important. Again, the different industries release the different dangerous smoke, right? And not only industries, we use different type of vehicles which actually releases dirt and smoke. It releases carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide into the air, which is not good, okay, which are air pollutants basically. So in order to control this, the Air Prevention and Pollution Act 1981 has come up, and nowadays BS6 engine is going on. So if somebody is using BS1 or BS2 engine, right, so that will come under this act, okay. You might have seen that different type of vehicles are there which releases huge black sooty smoke, which is not good for the air quality, right? So that will come under this act, and they can be controlled, okay. Then comes the Environmental Protection Act, which is the overall protection of environment, including each and everything. That has come up in 1986. And then there is the Ozone Depletion Substances Regulation and Control Act. You know, the ozone hole problem was a big problem around the 1990s, right? And now the ozone hole problem is complete, it is over, right? There is no ozone hole present, okay, and the ozone hole has recovered. Why? due to some certain measures that are taken by the by all the countries together. Okay, so we will read those protocols in this particular lecture only at the end, right? And last but not least comes the Biological Diversity Act, which has come up in 2002 and which controls the exploitation of animals by the human beings. Okay, right? So just we have been speaking about the ozone hole, that the ozone hole is being filled up and the ozone pollution is being now in controlled way, and the ozone hole is healing up, so there is no ozone hole, no problem, right? We have been discussing few moments ago, right? So here comes the Montreal Protocol, which was signed actually in 1987, right? And which gives a clear cut idea that ozone hole was a huge problem, and the use of CFCs and this all should be stopped, right? So different countries signed this agreement. Let us discuss about this Montreal Protocol. Okay, now Montreal Protocol, it was finalized in 1987 and it was a global agreement, means many countries have come together and they have agreed to this particular thing. They have signed the agreement, right, to protect the stratospheric ozone layer by passing out the production of consumption of ozone depleting substances. Now what is ozone depleting substance and what happens whenever this ozone depleting substances reaches ozone? See, basically these are nothing but chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs, right? And they produce free chlorine radicals. Okay, now this consideration is not of the environment, basically this is the chemistry part, but we need to know it very well because last but not least, I am a chemistry person, and this is very important for us to know that how the depletion is actually occurs, right? So these CFCs, they react with sunlight and they release chlorine free radicals. Now these chlorine free radicals, they go to ozone and they act as a scavenger. They destroy ozone. By destroy I mean to say they convert ozone O3 to O2, mane dioxygen, normal oxygen molecule, right? Now whenever O3 is converted to O2, the whole reaction is 2O3 to 3O2, right? Now whenever it becomes O2, it will come down to the troposphere, and that particular portion from where the ozone is gone, that particular portion will be empty, so it will be ozone hole, right? So this was the problem, and in order to control this, this Montreal Protocol has been signed. Now if there is ozone hole, what problem will be faced? See, ozone, stratospheric ozone protects us from the harmful UV radiation that comes from the sun. If ozone hole is not there, then what will happen? This UV radiation will come directly to us, and we will, if there is a little culprit in your skin, you will suffer from skin cancer. Okay, huge problem, right? The United States ratified the Montreal Protocol in 1988, and it was then joined by 4 subsequent amendments, and being a leader, the US, right, they have started the protocol, okay, and all other countries have signed the protocol. Around 197 countries have signed the Montreal Protocol, okay, and they adopted the Kigali Amendment to phase down the production and consumption of CFCs. Okay, rather after CFCs, rather the consumption of HCFCs were also controlled. Okay, under this Montreal Protocol itself. Now there is another protocol which is called Kyoto Protocol. Now Kyoto is a place of Japan, as people can know, and Kyoto Protocol is basically due to the conservation of climate change. Okay, because we know that the climate is changing day by day, things are becoming warm and hot, right, and it is not good for us to sustain. Okay, so the Kyoto Protocol is a protocol which again is passed by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that is UNFCCC. Okay, and it is aimed at fighting global warming, right? So it basically aims to minimize the release of greenhouse gases, right? Now what greenhouse gases are and what is global warming, we are not discussing here. After 1-2 lectures, there is air, right, air pollution and control. There we will study in details about this 2 particular topic, right? Now the International Environmental Treaty, with a goal to achieve the stabilization of greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere, has been signed by the countries under this Kyoto Protocol. Okay, now this Kyoto Protocol was adopted in Kyoto, Japan in 11th December 1997, right, and it was into force from 16th February 2005. Okay, now 191 countries have signed the protocol till April 2010. Okay, now under this protocol 37 countries commit themselves to a reduction of 4 greenhouse gases. Basically, these 37 countries have agreed that yes, we will control the release of these greenhouse gases, which are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and sulfur hexafluoride, right? And other 2 group of gases like hydrofluorocarbons and perfluorocarbons, right? Okay. So all they have committed that yes, we will control the release of these particular gases. Now hearing the name carbon dioxide, do not think that you will stop breathing, no, but rather we will do some other methods in order to control. We will plant more trees and we will control the release of carbon dioxide by other means other than breathing. Okay, right? So these were the certain rules and regulations and protocols and agreements that have been signed by different countries that we have discussed in this particular chapter. So these are some of the facts by which the environment can be managed to some extent, right? Now this is not actually all to save the environment, right? Because see, environment cannot be saved by a country, because country is nothing but combination of human beings, combination of its citizens, right? So if you and I come together, then only we can control this type of problem, then only we can control the pollution problem and environmental problem, right? So we have to come together and we have to work together for the development of environment and for its well-being, because after all, see, earth is our mother, right? Earth is our mother, and if you trouble your mother, then what will happen? You will be destroyed. Not only you, I, all will be destroyed, right? So we have to protect our mother under every condition, each and every condition, whatever the situation may be. We have to protect earth, we have to protect our mother, right? So with this oath, let us conclude today's lecture, and this is basically the 6th and the final lecture of the first module, that is general of the mandatory course of environmental science. So in the next lecture we'll come up with module 2, that is air and its pollution. So till then, just go through these 6 lectures and study it well, right? And if there is a problem, just consult with me and we will come up to certain agreement and certain solution, right? So till then, thank you so much, students, and you stay safe and protect the environment. Okay, thank you.